Yes, people, welcome to the One True Red podcast. Now, obviously, this is a football podcast. So I'm talking about the UK football, right? But we can't let this day pass without talking about the American version. Our friends across the pond, the American version, as it's Super Bowl Sunday today. And we've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, what you guys probably don't know is that Uche is our resident American football correspondent. So he's the guy that knows. He's got all the knowledge on what the game's about, what's going to happen in this final. So we thought we'd have a little chat about it. So Uche, Super Bowl, what number are we on this time? 60?
60, yep.
Super Bowl 60. We've got Kansas City Chiefs trying to do the three-peat, so win it 3 times in a row. What do you think is going to happen in this? What do they call it? Game or match over there?
Yeah, game would do.
You've got to educate me because I'm well out of the loop. My knowledge on American football goes way back to the John Madden days on the Mega Drive and then
the Mega Drive and all that,
PS1 and all that stuff. So that's how far back I know how the sport works, but in terms of being up to date on it. But you're the guy you've got your finger on the pulse. So Super Bowl 60, Kansas City Chiefs, Philadelphia Eagles. What do you think is going to happen?
So obviously, again, this is a game where, just like as part of the three-peat, the Eagles played, and they played each other basically in the first one. At that time, the Eagles I felt were definitely the better team. The difference.
I think I watched that one. Yeah.
Obviously, they won that, and then they played the 49ers last season, and they won that, and then they're placing each other again. And to be honest, nothing has changed. In fact, it got worse. I think the Eagles are even much better than last time because they've got a very ridiculous, gifted running back called Saquon Barkley, who incredibly left the New York Giants, which is one of their rivals in their own division, and got taken on a free. So they are incredibly strong running the football. It's not exciting to see, of course, running the football, but it's extremely effective because what it does 2 things. 1, you run down the clock. And 2, you keep hold of the ball. And if you keep hold of the ball, you keep away the biggest, baddest man on the planet, Patrick Mahomes, from taking it. So everything is stacked, literally stacked against Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the problem is no one can ever say that in reality when you watch the game, which you'll be doing tonight, because you have Patrick Mahomes. And whenever you have Patrick Mahomes, nothing is ever impossible.
Anything is possible, right?
So obviously, it's a great team. They've actually improved again themselves. They took it easy, had a lot of tight games this year throughout the league. And then when they got to the playoffs, which people felt they were actually gaining towards, the biggest 2 things that's happened. 1, they lost one of their biggest receiver called Rice during the season. He was out quite early in the season, out for the entire season. And then they had a really gifted running receiver called Worthy, who was kind of new, extremely quick. And he also had some problems. But the good news today is that all their receivers, apart from that Rice, are available for the first time in the last 2 or 3 games. So that's going to play a part. Everybody obviously knows about, Mr. Boyfriend, Travis Kelce, the tight end. He's a tight end by name, but he's really another receiver. So he always has...
Even I know that.
Yeah, so he's built for the big games. So expect big games. But basically, the game is going to go down to those 2 things I mentioned. They're going to try and run the ball. Kansas City Chiefs are going to try and stop them running the ball because if you run the ball and have the ball, they're going to probably beat them. So they're going to try and do what they call having the box. So you basically have 9 of the 11 players boxed in. But obviously, that's risky, right? Because if you break through that box, then you got that massive space. But they're going to try to do that. But, you could say everybody tries to do that, right, all season. And he nearly broke the record for the rushing back. So that's going to be difficult. And then, obviously, they have 2 receivers themselves in Brown and Devontae Smith to throw the ball to. But everybody thinks you're not that great. They will rather you throw the ball than you run it down our throat because we believe you make a mistake or something like that. But obviously, you know who I'm backing, which is Patrick Mahomes. So most haters today are gonna be backing the Eagles.
That's me.
You know,
Yeah, I'm a hater.
that's how we like it, because haters gonna go home hating. That's all they can do. They're gonna try and come and
to,
three-peat.
to be honest with you, I watched last year's final with with my hate shades on, drinking Haterade, and obviously they won it again.
Yeah,
So going again this year, I was hating in the last game that they played, and they won
yeah.
that. Got through to the Super Bowl, and I'm hating in this one too. So
Well,
Philadelphia Eagles, go
what's the
Eagles.
reason for your hate? Can you understand? Help me. What can you pinpoint? Is it because you feel like they're winning too much? Is that what it is?
That's basically it. I'm going for the underdog. Last year, who was it? They hadn't
Well,
won for a while.
49ers hadn't won for a
Yeah,
while. They also
they
had a
hadn't won
stacked
for a
team.
while.
Yeah, they also had a
So
stacked team, and they also took the lead. They were also 10 points ahead, which is
yes,
another
they
thing that
were.
happens in the
And then
In the
Mahomes took
Super Bowl.
over.
And then Mahomes takes over, and they all shrink. So, I mean, to be honest, I get it, because when I get into the sport, I did not, and I still do not like the New England Patriots, because they won a lot. So I do get that side of things. But this dude is just special, man. It's not even my team as well. That's not another thing you have to make quite clear.
Which is your team?
It's not my team at all by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just a massive fan of somebody who I believe is the most gifted quarterback I've ever seen, because he just does things that doesn't make sense. And because of that, and because of the unique situation of them going for a three-peat, which the NFL was designed for you not to do this, is literally designed that if every year when you get good, which has happened, which is another thing people don't talk about, I get irritated by, every single year. So the year they won it against the Eagles, they lost players, because that's what happens, because they'll take their money, the best players, cornerbacks, and so on. They'll go to another team because they could earn far more money for that other team. When they won it last year, guess what? The same thing happens again. They lost more players, right? So it's that idea of rebuilding, knowing you're going to lose players. If you win this one, you're going to lose more players, right? Meanwhile, the Eagles have been stacking up, right? Because of, there's different. I don't want to, bore people to death with that idea, but they had enough cap space that they were able to add some more power players, and it's literally the best thing they could have. Literally the best player they could have added in the running back. But like I said, there's nothing that will surprise me today. If the Eagles win, they are the best team. They are the better team, because they have one of the best. Kansas City Chiefs had a very good defense, but the best defense definitely goes to the Eagles, right? Like I said, the running game goes to the Eagles. The receivers probably goes to the Eagles. So it just comes down to this guy. And this guy, what he does is, if I'm behind and it's in the fourth quarter when it really matters, I know you're gonna crumble, and I know I'm gonna win. And that's literally what he does. And I just love seeing that theater, because I just think he's the greatest players that's ever played the game. And that's it. Like, as I said, it's not my team, but that's why I always back Patrick Mahomes. So I just want to see them do it. And then, like I said, when they start getting bad, it's got nothing to do with me, because, to be honest, my team is in the same division as him, so I shouldn't even be, liking him like that. But I just feel like, I just love what they're able to do, because they were literally nowhere. You said you talk about Madden and all that stuff. Where was Kansas City Chiefs in any of the history?
Probably never even heard of them at that point.
And there's a reason for that, because there was nothing to write about, right, for many years.
Yeah.
So it's a very small market. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing. Drafted this dude, great coach, and all that. And I just think it's a story, obviously, that it should really appeal to a lot of people, because, like you say, they're now doing the impossible. I just think people should give them props for doing what is literally should be.
Yeah, no, even though I'm firmly with the Eagles tonight, purely because of like fake hate, really. I can't dislike, like, when it's our football, I really dislike certain teams, right? So Man United, I've got nothing, unless they're beating a rival of ours and they're helping us win a title or something.
Yeah,
I don't like them to win anything. I don't even like them to win in training. But with Kansas City, I can't hate them, because I'm not that deep in it. But I do hear you in terms of Mahomes, because he is just, what he does is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
and me as a casual fan who will watch some of the playoffs, and then watch a Super Bowl final. Is that what they call it? Super Bowl final.
Just a Super Bowl.
Just a Super Bowl. Me as somebody casual who just watched the Super Bowl, I can see that this guy is on it, especially what happened last year with the way the way they fought back in the game. So I can't hate on Mahomes. I'm just like, Kansas City, you've won it enough. Let
The only thing I would say is that
let Philly have something.
If they make that mistake and go 10 points behind in this game, I think he's done. He's not coming back today. I'm going to tell you that now straight up because, like I said, there was
if Kansas City are 10 points behind.
No, there's not happening. Not today. Not this time. If they go 10 points behind again, it's not happening. That guy Saquon is gonna run them. he's gonna take it home. So I don't think they're gonna make that mistake again. Because don't forget, it's not like it's intentional, right? It's not like they want to be 10 points behind. But I think if it happens again, I just don't think it's gonna happen this time. I think the Chiefs are gonna have to do something different. I don't know what yet, but I just
what was it like 2 years ago when they played? What was
well, like I said, they had it basically again. They were 10 points ahead, right? And I think if I remember correctly, Hurts he was trying to run with the ball and he fumbled it, and that's when they started the sort of comeback if you like. But again, what happens is everyone seizes up, right? Because when the game is now tighter, you're not going to run the ball as well, and everyone gets tight. And when you get tight, that's when he comes into
mistakes.
Play. Yeah, because he literally is at the moment, that's what I'm saying. The team is very different. It's mistake-free football. So look for this thing they call fumble, which is somebody basically losing the possession. Because all you've done with a fumble is that you've given your possession back to the other team, which is dangerous. So that's what you're trying not to do. So, for example, what would shock the world, like literally mouth open, would be someone like Saquon Barkley dropping the ball, getting punched out or something like that, which is never done. And that's one thing that this current Eagles team, they haven't fumbled in a long time. I think it goes back to like November. And the same thing goes to Kansas City Chiefs. So everybody's saying like, look, whoever makes that mistake, that big mistake today, will probably pay dearly for that. But I just think like this dude has got his weapons. Like I said, even though Rice is probably who should be having the number one receiver, he's out for the season. At the moment, he's got 4 or 5 different receivers that he could call upon today,
right?
Which he didn't have for most of the season. And I think they've been building up for this moment, right? And that's why I think that the Kansas City will find a way to do it because these guys will get tight and Mahomes is not going to get tight. But there is like I said, don't let anyone fool you. They are the better team, the Philadelphia Eagles. I can't say that.
Yeah. Okay, so who are you saying is going to win it then? Who's going to be Super Bowl?
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think I'm expecting Kansas City to score at least over 30 points, and I think they'll win by at least 5 points. And that's what I'm going for.
Kansas City to win, yeah?
Yeah, so probably like 30-24, something like that. Like I say, if they go behind, for me, it's curtains. If they go 10 points ahead, I'm not going to back Mahomes because this time I think Barclays would take it home. So, yeah, look for the explosive. Look for, touchdowns. I think Mahomes will score at least. I'm backing them to score at least 3 touchdowns, if not 4. And it's going to be a great game. And like I say, if Eagles end up winning it, well, it's another black quarterback. I can't hate on that, really.
No.
But I will be devastated just because, three-peat, you're not going to get another chance, probably ever, to do it. So I'll be upset for them for that reason. I don't think it's just a special moment to wrap it up and do that three-peat. So that's why I really want them to win.
Okay. Well, now you're kind of selling it to me. The Kansas City Chiefs win. Kind of selling it to me. They're never gonna have the chance again.
Yeah, this is it. I don't think it's
goes down in history again.
Yeah,
even more so.
It's a history-making thing. That's the only thing. Because it's here. Because I actually don't like. I'm actually with most people who are hating it because of that reason. So I would normally be in that situation, but I just feel like this dude that just come on and done things. So for example, 7 years being in the league, and he's about to win his 4th Super Bowl in 7 years.
Crazy.
And do a three-peat. It's so ridiculous. Like I just feel like it should never be downplayed because I watched this game and I'm just like, this game is so hard and it's literally designed for you not to do this. If this is why it's not like our football is designed for you not to do this. You will lose your best players every time you win, and you will be. That's how it's designed. So you really shouldn't be doing that. So it's just the way they've been able to sort of build teams, knowing they're gonna lose people and still get here somehow, some way, despite so many things. You heard about Josh Allen winning MVP in his path, had all the advantages, lost again. You heard about Lamar Jackson, another extraordinary quarterback, all in his division. And somehow, somewhere, here we are again. He's in the Super Bowl. Here we are yet again. And I just think it's a remarkable story.
Okay. Well, we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, but couple of things I want to ask. So MVP, you mentioned there. Who do you think is going to be who's going to win it this year?
Well, obviously, if he wins it, he's gonna go. He's always goes. Unfortunately, he almost always goes to the quarterback, right? So, if Kansas City wins it, it's gonna be Patrick Mahomes. There's obviously a big chance that if the Eagles win it, he might actually be Saquon Barkley, because like I
Okay.
say, he gets a bad rep, Jalen Hurts, because he's not Patrick Mahomes, but who is, right?
Yeah.
So I think unless he throws for like 300 yards or something like that, and then because they locked up Barkley from running, and some of that's the only way. But if they do the way they normally win, that means Saquon rush for over 100 yards, then he will almost certainly get MVP. But like I said, because I'm backing Kansas City to win, I think the MVP goes to Patrick Mahomes.
Okay, Patrick Mahomes and Kansas City Chiefs to take it home. And just before we end, just want to ask you about your love for the sport, because obviously people over here, we get the odd NFL game. It's on TV here, which is you can watch I think you can watch regular season games, right?
Yeah, on
It's
Sky.
pretty much on every Sunday or whenever the games are, Monday night as well.
Yes.
But it's not a game that we play over here in
No,
any great numbers,
no.
and we've obviously got our own football, biggest sport in the world, by the way, Americans. Just getting that in there. So that dominates. I mean, we're both sitting there with our Liverpool tops on, but as Liverpool fans, that dominates our sporting landscape. But how did you get into the sport, and what you mentioned that Kansas City playing the same division as your team? Who's actually your team?
Yeah, Pittsburgh Steelers. So I was just, like you say, when the games always finish, like Super Sunday around 6 o'clock, and you're
Football,
like looking,
UK
you're like,
football, Super
yeah,
Sunday,
UK
yeah.
football, and then you're thinking there's always this thing on. And I just wasn't interested, like everyone else. I'm not really that into it. And then I started doing, I don't know what happened. I just started doing some more research. And I think is when they started looking to come here. And I started doing before that, just to see what teams and stuff like that. And I like the history. So I read up on history, similar to what I did for football when I was a kid. I'm a geek when it comes to sports. So I wanted to look at history of the sports, like who is actually who. And I just like the story of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the gold and just the way they play, really harsh defensive is their priority and stuff like that. So, and the way the city was, I felt like there was some resonance with the Liverpool, if you like. So that's why I was into the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at the time, they had a quite decent team, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, I've always followed the Pittsburgh Steelers because of their story, really. So I would say I'm considered a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. And then I just started watching more and more of it and started to, what's this game really about? Especially the interesting part that is attack versus defense, which means you don't actually realize when you're watching it what's actually going on. Like it's a squad of 53 squad players, and you're actually watching every time the attack versus the defense of the other team. And then they actually come off the field and it's attack versus defense for the other team.
Yeah.
And then you have the special teams as well, which is kind of your third team, and the influence of that and all the tactics that's involved. So obviously I've involved with the game, and then I've been to a few live games here, and it's incredibly different to watch because obviously when they go on multiple breaks here, you're kind of like sitting around thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? It doesn't seem as exciting because it's stop-start, very different to the football that we follow. So yeah, that's how I really got into it. So I was just interested in the game, and then I started following the game more. And then obviously for a long time now, I've just been watching the game. So I tend to either record it and watch it in my own time, and then just because I try not to know the scores and stuff like that. So almost every week I watch most of the games and the highlights and stuff like that. So
okay, cool. And would you say that it's something that you think is going to get bigger in this country, or
I don't know if you get to the point where people are obviously people are playing
it's like
it.
niche, isn't it? It's a niche.
Yeah, it's a niche. Yeah, I think people are playing it, but it's just difficult to for the Europeans to make it over there. But it's not impossible. But in terms of watching, I think even today you see it. I think ITV is covering this time. You will see like some specific bars within London have theme bars of all these teams. So there's enough around. I don't know how popular, but one thing we do know is that it's growing. So, for example, they're playing in Ireland. I think this year or maybe sometime this year. Obviously, Germany, Mexico, Brazil, and they keep adding more and more countries, and they keep toying with this idea of having an international team. And I think that's what's going to change the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to have like an international NFL team. How quickly they do that, I don't know, but if that becomes realistic, they really are thinking about it. So the NFL commissioner is really thinking about having at least to make it really. But there's no doubt about it. They're looking to play more of these games, and they're adding it. As you know, they play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, play at Wembley, and they're adding a few other ones around Europe. They're actually playing Australia as well, which is something they added again. So they're really trying to go global with it. No doubt. You know what that means. Saudi Arabia will be interested very soon.
Of course. They'll probably set up their own league now and then.
You know.
So, yeah, I think it's interesting the way they're trying to expand that sport. They've done it with the basketball as well. And it kind of makes sense because the thing I've realized about American sports is that it's kind of individual led. It's not so much. I mean, maybe in NFL it's different, but I know in basketball, people kind of support a player and then they'll follow that player around. Although they might have a team that they root for, they'll follow a player more than they follow the team, if that makes sense. Whereas in the UK, because football is so deeply entrenched within the community and there's no such thing as franchises, and there's a team here one week and then next week it's moved to a different state. It's just not a thing here. So I can understand the international team working for NFL because it's not rooted in any particular community or anything like that. There's no 100 years of history like you do with the football clubs you have here and across the world. So, and I say football clubs as in soccer for American viewers.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, but obviously that only applies to certain markets. It's been unfortunate. So you're talking about the Oakland Raiders that became the LA Raiders, that's now become the Las Vegas Raiders. It's quite distraught for the fans of the original team.
I can't imagine it though. It's just such an alien concept as a fan of a UK football team. It's just an alien concept that the owners will move Liverpool, for example, to, let's say, Aberystwyth in Wales or something, and then suddenly they've got your players, and it's just
mad. But obviously that doesn't happen to certain franchises. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, Dallas Cowboys, and stuff like that is gonna be nearly impossible. But again, the reason why is because, like you were saying, history and money makes a difference, right? So what kind of crazy owner would think about doing such a thing? And the reason why they do it for those teams is that they decided that market, like the owner decided that market ain't doing it, which is just insane. And because they know that it's almost like, what are you going to do about it? I think I do feel for them because, like you said, it has happened very recently, actually, with the LA Chargers, Los Angeles Chargers, which is now in LA, which wasn't in LA before. So which was, what were they before? Oh my gosh, it's lost me now. San Diego Chargers. I mean, I think it's still in the same state, but technically it's far apart because it's a massive, humongous state. So it's a very weird thing that I to be honest, I really struggle with. But the normal, traditional, hardcore base that will never, ever happen the same way you wouldn't think about doing it for Liverpool. But the fact that it's there as a possibility is very disturbing indeed.
Yeah, for real. All right then. So we'll leave it there then. I mean, it's good little chat about Super Bowl final. You're staying up to watch it from all the way to the end?
All the way through, man, and then I'll suffer for it, I'm sure. The rest of the
week. To be honest, the same thing tends to happen to me every year. Is I say, I'm going to watch it all. I get to halftime, I fall asleep, and then I wake up in the morning and have to watch the second half, the final, the end of the game, and find out actually who wins. Because last year I was like, the City Chiefs are going to lose, and then turns out they're winners again. So we'll see how it goes. But go Eagles, and we'll leave it there.
We shall see. Nice one.